Okay, this video is for grade 7 specifically, but it can be used for the grade 8 class as well if you're not sure, if you need a reminder of how to do area for composite figures. So specifically, when we're talking about composite figures, it's talking about finding the area or the perimeter of a shape that is combined of different shapes. So like in this case, um, for the grade 7, you have your quiz tomorrow. So it's going to be 2 questions like the 2 that you see here. So one where you're finding the composite area of, like this would have 3 rectangles. Another question where you have to find the composite area where you're removing part of the figure. So this other one would be finding the shaded area here. So the first video here that I'm going to do is going to be just for question 1. And all that I've done so far is I've rewritten the numbers that were there because they were kind of small and we couldn't see them. Okay, so if I'm trying to find the area of this figure, what I would do is I would split it up into shapes that I already know how to do and that I already recognize, okay? So I'm going to split it up into 3 rectangles for right now. If you feel the need to split it a different way, as we discussed in class, that's fine. So some people see these like horizontal lines like I have drawn. Sorry, they're not horizontal lines, but like some people see the image horizontally, but other people would split it up the other way because you see the rectangles vertically, and that's fine, okay? But however you want to split it up, just make sure that you take into account the whole shape. So I'm going to do these 1, 2, 3 rectangles. And you're supposed to show all of your work. So you should be writing the formulas underneath that you're doing. And because I'm trying to find the area of the whole thing, I'm going to find the 3 pieces and I'm going to add them up. Okay, so my first piece here for the rectangle number 1, I'm going to write area equals. And for now, I'm going to write length times width. But as we talked about in class, length times width, base times height, those are just 2 variations of the same formula. It doesn't matter which one you want to use. You're just doing one side length of the rectangle times the other side length of the rectangle. Okay, so here I'm going to end up, for this one, I have 7 and 3. And those dimensions are already available, and it takes in that whole rectangle. So I'm going to do 7 times 3. Okay, and it was 7 times 3 is 21. Since my unit was in meters, we talked about this a lot in class. If you have area, the unit for area is the unit squared, okay? Because you're doing meters times meters, so it becomes meters squared. Okay, so first rectangle here is 21 meters squared. All right, I'm going to add it together with the other areas. Okay, so my area for my, oh boy. Okay, my video is kind of getting a bit messed up. Hopefully you don't see that in the video once I film it, but I'm going to just try and continue. Sorry, 2 seconds here. Okay, sorry about that. All right, hopefully it doesn't lag this time. Okay, so in the second rectangle here, and we talked about this quite a bit in class, is that you're looking at, so I've already done this one for number 1. For the second one, I'm trying to take the length of this entire line from here to here because I want to get that whole rectangle. So I'm fine with my 9 up here because it takes in the whole width of this rectangle. But here, the 7 only goes to here. So in order to have the full side length for this second rectangle, I need to do 7 from here, but there's also another 3 on this side that I have is the same on this side here. Okay, so that entire side length is not 7, it's 7 plus 3, which is 10. Okay, so this rectangle is a rectangle that is 10 by 9. Okay, so that's like, if you want to see it on this side, this length of this entire line is 10. Okay, so my second area is again a rectangle, so I do area equals length times width. Again, base times height is fine too. But now if I'm using 9 by 10, okay, that will give me 90 meters squared. You're allowed to use a calculator for this, so by all means, go ahead and use your calculator. Okay, and it's better for us to, if you need to check, if you're going to make a mistake, then you're better off using your calculator. Okay, so then that 90, since I did 9 by 10, took up this entire rectangle. So again, if you split it another way, that's fine. You just have to make sure you take all the pieces into consideration. And my third rectangle, this one, I already have the dimensions of. So I have 7 and 6. So again, I'm going to do area equals length times width. So my area is going to be 7 times 6. So like I said, you are allowed to use your calculator. So you should know your times tables that 7 times 6 is 42. But I want you to get familiar and start, I don't want you to make simple arithmetic mistakes. So don't check things that you know that you consciously know the answer of. But otherwise, if you need to check, by all means, go ahead and use your calculator, okay? So 7 times 6 is 42. Again, the unit for this is in meters squared. Okay, and the final thing that I have to do, so that took up that whole rectangle. I'm trying to tell, the answer is supposed to be the total area. So the total would be, you take each of these, the 21, 90, and 42, and you add them up. So 21 plus 90 plus 42. Again, you are allowed to use your calculator. You don't want you making any mistakes. So 21 plus 90 plus 42 equals 153. So you guys have this package and you have the answers on the back, and they're also available on Math Help Services, so you can check if you did it right. But once I add it up, my total area is 153, and the unit that you're supposed to include is meters squared. And I circle my answer. Okay, so this would be the appropriate work that you're supposed to show on your final exam to get full marks. Okay, if it's multiple choice, you don't have to show any work. But on a long answer question, you would have to show work. And then the type of question might involve something more where this might be like the amount of grass in a backyard or something, and you might have to multiply it by a price. Okay, so we will do more review closer to the final exam. But for your quiz tomorrow, you need to be able to do a question like this. I'm going to move straight into another video in a second that is going to do number 2 on the side here, where we have to figure out the shaded region and take out the area of another shape.